Welcome to the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival introductory presentation, Social Media Marketing for Filmmakers. TTFF 20 industry events are made possible through the support of Shell Trinidad and Tobago Limited. In this TTFF 20 presentation, Neala Bhagwansingh will share invaluable tips and tools for harnessing the power of Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to drive interest and investment in you and your film projects. Neala has 12 years of marketing experience, including social media management, and has developed and effectively managed social media campaigns for multiple businesses, including the Trinidad and Tobago Film Festival and Filmco. Feel free to ask questions in the comment sections below, and Neala will address them at the Q&A segment at the end. Neala, take it away.
Thanks, Camille. Good afternoon, everyone. Collectively, we are spending more and more of our time engaging with content on social media networks like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, which are the three platforms we'll be chatting a little bit about today. Social media has become a reliable tool for independent filmmakers with its potential for greater audience reach, feedback in real time from fans, and networking opportunities with fellow filmmakers and investors. During this presentation, we will cover topics that most filmmakers and creatives ask themselves at some point when considering marketing options. So, for instance, why should I use social media for my projects? And the topic we'll discuss is social media and film. What should I post? Content creation versus content curation. How often should I post? Preliminary marketing strategy. How do I build a following? We'll be looking at presence and engagement. What kind of content should I collect? And we'll discuss the do's and don'ts of social media. And of course, why do I need a response plan? And in this case, we'll discuss crisis management. Okay, so moving along. Why should I use social media for my film? Number one, it's to create awareness. The nature of social media itself is such that it drives traffic to our feeds based on our interests. I mean, most of us are on Facebook and Instagram or Twitter already, and these platforms enhance discoverability through linking hashtags, suggested content, and interest groups. Have you ever posted about, say, a volcano, a particular subject? Just use volcanoes as an example. And noticed within a day, or even sometimes a few hours, depending on how much you're on social media, that suddenly your feed seems to be populated with erupting volcanoes, dormant volcanoes, and sometimes even an article on Pompeii. The reason for that is because these platforms are designed to engage with users. And this works to your advantage as a filmmaker. Just switching my sheet here. Right. So to create, why should I use social media? To create a buzz around your project. A social media campaign often begins before production itself even starts, incorporating the earliest press announcements and tidbits of info throughout production and post-production until the film's premiere. Community building and audience building. Social media helps potential fans find your film and find you. We also use social media to influence potential sponsors and investors. This is important, especially for filmmakers, emerging filmmakers and established filmmakers. The community you build becomes an indicator of the audience for your film. The greater your engagement and a consistently growing fan base tells a potential sponsor that there will be a return on his or her investment. The content that you post to social media becomes a visual representation of your project and your project's progress. It becomes a showcase for past successes too, and can inspire confidence, which can lead to investment and support, which is always one of the main reasons why we want to publicize what we're doing as filmmakers. Another reason, another way that social media can help influence potential sponsors and investors, it's an opportunity to be less formal than your official website, which as a filmmaker you should have for your current projects, past projects, and future projects. Potential sponsors and investors can get to know you better through social media. They can get to know your cast and crew better, as well as the audience that you are building, the audiences that you are building. Social media gives an idea of who you are as a filmmaker, what motivates you, and what your stories represent. Your social media platforms can also help to humanize your projects, putting faces to production team titles and establish the building blocks of healthy, mutually beneficial relationships between cast, crew, audiences, and investors. So we're looking at what should I be posting? Content creation versus content curation. Content curation is the gathering of content from many different sources, such as articles about filmmaking that interest you, articles that explore subjects, themes, and content similar to the ones that you explore in your film or your film project. And of course, industry news. In terms of determining what sort of content you want to use that you're sourcing from different areas, be guided by what you find interesting. Your projects tend to reflect what is important to you. So trust those instincts in selecting content from other sources. Use the save feature. Most of the platforms have a save feature. And as you're going through your feed and you're scrolling and whatnot, every now and then you may come across an article that is relevant to you, but it's 2 a.m. and posting at 2 a.m. on your social media pages may not help you reach the audience that you want. So just put it in a little save folder and keep it for later. And let those things help guide you. You're building a content base then. Right. You also want to, in terms of posting from other sources or information that is not directly related to your film, you want to support endeavors and projects by fellow filmmakers too, such as networking. Now, while networking can sometimes sound gimmicky, it will always benefit you if your motivations are genuine. Support projects that believe in and that you believe in, and the fellow professionals that you respect and admire. Looking at content creation. That was just content curation. We're looking at content creation now. Content creation refers to content you have created from scratch. In other words, original content. Creating your own content helps you to control the message and direct the conversations you want your audiences to have. Created content is impressive, and if done well enough, can become curated content for another social media user as well, an industry professional that you know well and you get along well with. I recommend a healthy balance of both. There are little debates in the industry, the social media industry, about whether or not 60-40 works best or 50-50. I tend to lean towards the 60-40, and the 40% is you and your film, and the 60 is industry related, or that you find that you think your audiences will be interested in. A healthy balance of both I recommend. In terms of suggestions of what to post, let me see. I think this is still this slide. Okay, right, next slide. What should I post? Okay, so suggestions. You're looking at production photos and short behind the scenes videos. These are a great way to generate buzz, especially in the early stages of production. Social media followers and fans of your pages will come by your pages, visit your pages to get info that they won't find on your website. So you want to give your audiences a little peek behind the curtain and keep them curious. So we're looking at BTS photos and videos. If you have any surprise visitors to the set, somebody's mom, somebody's friend visiting, sponsors, other industry professionals, fans. These are little impromptu photo opportunities that you can use on your social media with permission, of course. Don't post up anybody that, you'll get in trouble for later on. Involve your cast and crew too. Let them tell stories. Like, for instance, a day on the set for the costume designer or the boom guy, just have them show what the set looks like from their perspective. Celebrate birthdays, downtime, etc., triumphs and downfalls. Sharing your experiences makes audiences relate to you. Right, so which platform should I use? Now, the 3 platforms that we're discussing today are Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Each platform offers different possibilities. Now, each platform has different possibilities and also different demographics. So it's good to understand what each one represents. To the platform, right, they have different demographics and audiences. For example, Instagram tends to attract more visual artists, and Twitter tends to lean towards literary professionals, depending, we won't debate it. Facebook users tend to be older than IG users, and Twitter, they prefer short, witty tweets and articles, sharing of articles, relying heavily on trending topics, while Facebook users tend to enjoy a little bit longer posts. Now, length is also something to think about, because as time goes on, people are less inclined to read a long post, unless, of course, they're very interested in what you're doing. But you have, your first few lines are what you use to get people's attention. So that's something to think about. Right, to determine where your audiences are, you'll have to do a little bit of research. So if you're looking at the 3 platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you're gonna identify keywords that relate to your project and search those platforms for these keywords. See what comes up. Facebook users are now becoming a little more comfortable using hashtags to drive engagement, especially as more and more business professionals are using Facebook pages to support their marketing efforts. Initially, Instagram and Twitter were the ones that favored hashtags, but now they're working on Facebook as well. Right, so once you've identified your areas, where the keywords work for you, where they drive traffic to the kinds of articles and the kinds of posts that are similar to what you would like, what kind of audiences you would like, you will have a better idea of what audiences respond to on each platform, and you'll be able to determine where you fit. Okay, next is, how often should I post? Am I speeding through this? I think I am. Okay, how often? Let me take a minute. You guys can take a minute too. Okay. Right, so how often should I post? Depending on where you are at in pre-production, production or post, your social media marketing efforts will reflect this. So if you're starting out, you want to start out, if it's at early stages of production or even, before, and you're working on the script, those little tidbits, they make a nice little historical record of your project. And you don't have to bust files, but it's a nice little record to look back on. So when you're starting out, you want to start out like a couple of posts for the week just to stay relevant and to slowly build up your audience and your fan base or your followers on the platforms. A couple of times a week is fine. Social media users, especially in our region. And again, this too will determine, your audience will determine what region you would like to market to, right? So if we're looking at the Caribbean, we have the same waking hours, so you tend to find that more social media activity, say on Facebook, is between 6 and 6. Instagram, it's actually later in the evening. It starts out earlier. It starts out later in the day, but kind of runs later in the evening. Right, so you want to start out timing when you post. introducing content that matters to your project and is leading and suggestive of exciting things to come. As production goes on, you can post more and more, featuring the type of content we discussed earlier, right? At this point, it's sounding like a lot of work, right? A lot of things to think about, a lot of platforms to work on. It's okay, it's manageable, especially if you're now starting out. When we all become big and famous, we can hire social media managers and they do the work for us, right? But in the meantime, you can take advantage of the scheduling tools that these platforms provide. Facebook has a scheduling calendar. Facebook owns Instagram, so you can schedule to Instagram as well as through Facebook. And Twitter has scheduling opportunities as scheduling tools as well. If you want to go a little bit bigger and you're talking about cross-posting, you would like to plan a lot longer, a lot further in advance, you can use tools like Hootsuite or Sprout Social. There are multiple, calendar publishing tools that you can use. Canva is also now starting out as well, which has a lot of possibilities. Canva is their content development tool. You can build your own posts, you can build your own graphics and images and whatnot to use on social media. They have a whole social media section. And now they have developed a calendar which you can just post directly. So that's kind of cool. Right, so you can schedule. If you are starting out, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you can basically handle it yourself. What you can do is put aside one day for the week, a half a day even, and tell yourself you're going to plan for the week ahead so that you don't have to deal with it, really until the next Sunday or something. What you would have to do though is engage with anyone that engages with your Facebook pages or your social media pages. You will have to engage with them a little bit during the week. Right, moving on. Analyzing presence and engagement for effectiveness. How do I build a following, basically? Now, social media is about connecting with people and starting conversations. So, because it's your film and these are subjects that are of interest to you, you bring yourself to the table, basically, or to the platform, right? You share great content, you respond to comments and questions, and you engage with your audiences. These are all opportunities. I mean, I know social media can be overwhelming at times. It can seem like a chore, but it has become a necessary part of your marketing campaign. So approach it from the point of view that you are developing relationships with people that want to know more about you and want to know more about your film. So essentially, it's about the film. If you are like me, where you tend to, you are a private person, you change the way you look at it in the sense that you're doing all of this for your film. You owe it to your film to do the best kind of marketing campaign you can, which includes social media. Right. So you want to, engage with your users, respond to comments and questions, offer little bits of information, offer advice if asked, and see how it goes. You'll find that a lot of people are actually willing to talk about these things. Give your audience a compelling reason to interact with you on your social media platforms. Show your human side. As mentioned before, supplement posts about you and your film with other content to keep your audience interested. It's not all, look at me, what I'm doing. It's also about, most of us are interested in things other than ourselves, right? So you want to reflect that in your social media as well, so yeah, topics that interest you, things you find fascinating, a success story, this is the Caribbean. We're all very proud to be Caribbean people. So when something good happens with a fellow Caribbean filmmaker and it moves you, share that, write a nice little comment about it and celebrate it. We're looking at building your following, right? And analyzing presence and engagement. You examine your analytics and insights. Now, these are all available on your platforms. You don't have to spend money to have access to basic insights and basic analytics. These give you feedback on how your posts are performing so that you can better gauge how audiences are responding to what you post. When you post, that's the time of day, and the kinds of things you post and how often you post. All of that are things that you have control over. So basically, you can guide your posting process. You can guide your engagement. You can take it up a notch if you find a lot of people are responding more to videos. If they're responding more to videos of a particular type of tree, post more of that tree, but not too much because then they'll get bored. But you find your way around it. But looking at the insights will tell you right away which types of posts are performing better, what type of content is performing better, and let all of that work for you. Right. So you can, like I said, explore. I mean, some of us have had social media tools for a while or used platforms, but we never really checked the settings to see that there's a little part called Insights, which tells you how many people have viewed, not just the likes. I mean, yes, we see the likes because those come up all the time, but in terms of where your posts are being viewed from, what parts of the Caribbean, so all of these things will help you and guide you in creating the best kind of content for your platforms. Where are we at? Yeah, explore, see what happens. You'll be surprised with what you discover. You want to approach social media marketing. Like I said, I know it sounds like a chore sometimes, and we just want to get about the business of creating. We don't want to have to sell anything, but approach it from a different perspective. You're not really selling, you are building a family, right? A healthy audience feels like they are a part of your film, part of your project, part of the production. And they want to see you succeed. They want to see the film succeed. So stay connected, be respectful, no ghosting anybody, posting all this fabulous content and then you disappear for a month, no explanation. You've started a relationship. So at this point, you have to kind of maintain it a little bit. Right, so let's see what happens next. Right, so during production, what sorts of things should I gather for social media? I wonder if I could get you all to guess. It's no different doing this on Facebook Live. Okay, so we want to give audiences a peek behind the curtain. We mentioned the BTS videos and stuff before. We mentioned visitors to set. We mentioned relaxed moments, that sort of thing, impromptu lines. Basically, what you're trying to do, you're looking for moments that are relatable to audiences. For many of your fans or followers, even if you're now starting out, there's always going to be somebody that likes you and always going to be somebody that likes what you're creating. To them, you are creating something amazing. You are making a film. It's a work of art that they may not be able to create or able to do. So you are already, they look up to you a little bit already. And that's okay. Human, regular guy moments help you connect with your audiences. And they will love you for that. They'll see a little bit of the human side. So those are the kinds of things you're looking for behind the scenes. Right. With respect to behind the scenes too, I don't know how many of you were around before the internet when everything was so accessible, but I remember being a teenager, and the only way we can find out more about the actors or about the cast and crew and the production teams behind certain films was to wait until magazines like Splice and Tiger Beat and all of those came out. And you'd get, a little background information of what was happening. I think Splice was probably one of those, right? So you get that's what we had to wait for. Now everything is accessible. So you are accessible too. And your social media followers and your fans, they kind of want to see that side, So a little behind the scenes, you're scouting for locations, you find one, it's gorgeous and you love it, explain, just hint at what's coming. You don't have to say what the film is about, but you hint at it. You give props to the grocery on the corner or the rum shop or whatever it is. You give props to that guy for letting him shoot there. Those kind of things matters. You're helping his business too, because he'll probably get more business out of it, So little things like that, they go a long way in terms of building this family, building this audience, and creating a community for your film and for your film project. Right. Okay, so we're on to do's and don'ts. Do's and don'ts of social media. Now, this one is a big one for me, because I think because the internet is so accessible, you put stuff up, it stays up there forever, doesn't disappear. So you want to be mindful of, while you do want to support your film and you do want to show your professional side as a filmmaker, be mindful of the privacy, safety, and security of your private life and your family. So that's always something to keep a little bit in mind. As a filmmaker, as an industry professional, as an artist, as a creative, I recommend that you create a filmmaker page rather than use your personal profile to engage with audiences. Now, the reason for this is not just for privacy. And yes, it's to protect you and your project, but it's also to make you accessible in a professional capacity. For example, many personal Facebook profiles. Now, I'm calling personal profile, that's the one that's personal. A business page, I'll call that page. So your personal profile, many personal profiles, rightfully so, have very strict settings or very rigid settings in terms of privacy. And I encourage you to keep that, But create a filmmaker, that's the one you'll use to interact in terms of networking, in terms of someone is looking for a producer, they can find you by searching your name. Personal profiles most of the time are not searchable or even visible. So your filmmaker page or your producer's page or director's page helps others within the industry find you. And of course the fans, because we always have to, be somewhat available to the fans. So, right. As an industry professional, creating this filmmaker page clears the way for it says that you are open for collaboration and connection. Filmmaker business pages those will help you with that. And keep your personal life separate if it matters to you. I mean, some people don't mind, they're open books, and that's cool too. Whatever, just do you. Just keep an eye out for your family members, etc. Right? Stuff goes up on the internet and it never goes away. Right. We're looking at share versus spam. Now, this is it's an interesting conversation in social media circles in terms of what's the best way to publicize what you're doing and marketing. I personally prefer share, right, rather than spam everybody, because if you're looking at it in terms of just human personal interaction, you don't, place yourself up in everybody's faces in real life, right? So you don't need to do it on social media. Once you are building a solid campaign or building a solid marketing professional face or page, I guess, people will find you, so you don't need to find them unless, of course, like I say all the time, once you have permission to tag away, go ahead, tag away, tag people. Some people want to know what you're doing all the time and they don't have time to go looking for you. So they say, sure, tag me wherever, and that way I'll know what you're doing. And that's cool. So, right. If they request that, then go right ahead, So that's that in terms of spam versus share. Share milestones. Now, that's one we all celebrate birthdays, we all celebrate anniversaries, most of us. And it makes us feel happy. It's an emotionally rewarding experience to realize you've made it to a certain spot. If you make 100 followers, be happy about that and celebrate that, because those 100 followers will feel appreciated. 10,000 followers, still thank everybody when you cross these milestones. You are never too big to say thank you. And it makes your followers and your fan base feel appreciated, and again, to feel part of your community. Right, let's talk a little bit about hashtags. Do use hashtags. Use hashtags effectively. Create a unique hashtag for your project. Now, a hashtag, I think early on when people first started using hashtags, they were initially used as a search tool. So, like for instance, if we are selling, I'm thinking about something like fruits here. Mango season, right? Mango season, that's so popular. If it's mango season, everybody's waiting for the first set of mangoes, right? All the time, right? So hashtag mango season will automatically send people to you because everybody's waiting for it. That's a terrible example. Okay, anyway, you want to create a unique hashtag. You want to create a unique hashtag that will drive traffic to you. Now, it would be good to look for something that has not been used a lot. Sometimes, yes, the world is a huge place. There are, billions of hashtags being created daily. So you want to find something that is unique to you and your project. What helps us a lot in Trinidad and even in the Caribbean, you put TT at the back or at the front end of your hashtag, and it automatically, positions you in a region, which works too, and chances are it would not be, it would be available. So you want to use a hashtag that is searchable and that will direct people to you. An easy way to test it, if you are on whichever platform, Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, create the hashtag and search the hashtag in the search and see how many tags come up that are similar, that may have typos, that may accidentally send people to you, or people will use accidentally, and see what works. As much as possible, make them easy to remember. You don't want to make them too long. You want to make them relevant to your film, relevant to your project. And yeah, you want to make them reasonably unique, and if you can make them short. Hashtags help people find you by name or by topic or subject. Right, I think that's all I have to say on hashtags. Hashtagging, something like hashtag fun, it's not searchable. It's just a statement. You might as well write FUN full stop, but anyway, okay. You do use sponsored posts and boosted posts. Take your time in determining the duration, the cost. Duration, that's how long you want the ad to run for. The cost, how much you want to spend. The longer it is, the wider the region, that always puts the cost up. The region that you want to market to, if it's just the Caribbean or if it's just Trinidad, the kind of audience, the age range of the audience you want to reach, and the interest. You can get very specific if you want to. If you want people only interested in mangoes, then fine, you can find only people interested in mangoes, right? And do interact with your audiences. Respond. Don't try not, as much as possible, try not to take too long to respond to anybody. We all know we're busy and whatnot, but you can gauge, the kind of audience that you have. If there's a really cool conversation going on, jump in. Sometimes the cool thing about social media too, especially in cases like this, is that conversations can be happening even when you're not there, about your film, and people get all excited about what's happening and they speculate about this and that. And, and it's it feels good to watch people having a conversation about your characters, and wondering what's happening. That's always pretty cool. But yeah, you get in there and, you get involved as well. And as we're speaking about comments and whatnot, take a step. With respect to comments or questions that may be deemed inappropriate or worrisome or make you nervous, try not to be emotionally reactive right away. Take a beat. And I don't mean like a week, I mean like a few minutes, a half an hour or whatnot. Just take a beat, wait until your emotions have kind of cooled and then read it over. Keep in mind that it's extremely difficult and almost impossible sometimes to gauge intonation, inflection, and emotion behind a written comment, especially if you don't know the person. You don't know if that's their style of writing. You don't know if they, maybe they're having difficulty constructing the sentences. Maybe they're coming from a very, emotionally or stressed place. You never know what it is. So take your time in how you respond and react as a supporter of your film. It's almost, you have to remind yourself that it's not necessarily directed at you as a person. It's something to do with your film, or something to do with your project, or something to do with your profession, right? As a filmmaker, that's the professional side of you. So try to keep all those things in mind. Call a friend, talk to a friend and find out, look, this is the situation. Can you help me with this? What you think? And again, even if your friend get real defensive, because friends do that, they support us and they want to, stick up for us and stuff. Still take your time and take a beat and then, respond. If it's possible, move the conversation to inbox or call the person, if they're open to having a conversation with you, because there are a lot of people on social media that actually prefer just to stay incognito and say whatever they have to say. And, you have to find a way to gauge whether or not it's worth responding to. And this is where this next point comes in, which is determine a response plan beforehand. Now, before you launch any project, before you have an event, before you, even before you post certain things, because sometimes, you want to share about an experience that you've had, about the film, or even if you're trying to share an article into your opinion on it, have a response plan. If you believe that it's a topic that may generate discussion, have in mind already how you would like to respond and what you will do if certain things happen. Now, it's fine that these conversations happen because conversations, especially conversations about change, are always important. But you have to be mindful of the fact that this is a conversation happening on your page. This is your film's page or your filmmaker page. You can move it to private if you want, talk on your personal page about however you want to talk, but on your professional page, you have to look at it as a product. You have to look at it as something that you are supporting and something that you're creating and you want to do well. Right. It's tricky. You can try to move the tricky conversations to a private space. I think that's that. We raced through this. Okay, what do we have left? Questions. Kamille, has anyone been asking questions on
Well, I have a few questions for you actually. Sure. So how do we navigate, let's say, controversial topics on social media? Yeah.
Well, similarly, if it is a controversial topic that is related to your film or related to an experience that you've had as a filmmaker, it depends on the kind of conversation that is coming to you. Controversial topics. If your film is about a controversial topic, you probably already have an idea of how you feel about it, and speak your truth. That's actually all I could say on something like that. Speak your truth. Be respectful. Know that nothing leaves the internet. You want to be mindful that the other person on the other side, because all you're seeing are their words. You don't know what's going on with them. You don't know what emotional state they're in. You don't know what they've gone through, etc. So come at it from a neutral space to have a conversation. One of the good things about social media is that it is a platform. These are platforms for discussion and conversation. It's actually one of the best things about social media. And it's also one of the most difficult things about social media. Yeah. Simply because there's a lot of emotion usually behind whatever is being said, especially about controversial topics. So remember that you don't have the normal conversation cues that you would have if you are face-to-face with a person, in terms of body language, emotional state, that sort of thing, So I think try to react emotionally on a toned down level, or just to be, a little mindful of everything else around social media. It's not necessarily you talking to someone face to face,
Okay, and what about we have dealt with trolls in comments. How do you deal with that?
Okay, the thing about trolls, number one thing, if they are making the engagement experience difficult, annoying, or bothersome for your other followers, block the person. Full stop. Block them. You are within your rights to do so. Again, this is your professional page, so they're not going to come looking for you because this is your professional page. This is not your personal profile. They're going to come after your family. Mm-hmm. So you keep it separate, right? So this is one of the main reasons why. But you owe it to your audience and the community that you're building to remove anyone that is deemed difficult or troublesome. Now, if they are someone who you can have intelligent arguments, right? So you would know beforehand from developing your response plan how you would handle situations like this, what you will tolerate and what you won't tolerate. There are settings on Facebook and Instagram. I'm not sure about TikTok. I'll have to check. But you can determine what words you do not want to be seen on your pages. There's a setting that allows you to write any word. It could be names of people even, that you don't want to show up on your newsfeed or you don't want anyone to say. They can be blocked. So you want to keep your engagement experience in a positive way for everyone who comes to your pages, right? And it's fine. I mean, you might swear, like a sailor, but there may be people who are interested in your film and interested in you that don't. So you can tailor it to the kind of engagement that you want, basically.
Okay, so our next question would be, how do you curate in your content? How many photos do you put up versus how many videos, and how long the video should be, based on how the attention span of persons who are consuming your content? Okay,
well, if something is interesting, people will watch, right? But yes, you have to grab their attention in the first 10 to 15 seconds, basically. It keeps getting shorter and shorter. It used to be 5 minutes of fame. Now it's basically like 5 seconds and you lose them, so unless, of course, it's a family member maybe, or someone who's really interested in your film and your projects and they've seen your past successes and they want to see what you're up to. They're interested in hearing what you have to say because you contribute to their lives in some way, so those people you have, right? Again, you have to still treat them well. You have to, they keep on developing the relationship and maintaining the relationships. In terms of posting, sorry, you asked about the posting. In terms of the videos, the photos, the types of posts, the type of content, when you start out posting, check your analytics, check your insights to see which posts perform well, which ones perform better at a certain time of day, what kinds of posts do well, and let that be your guide, and check it often. You really should be examining your analytics at least every month and making shifts and changes as you go along, especially as things ramp up in terms of production and you get closer and closer to your premiere date, so you want to keep revising and updating. And it can be quite fascinating sometimes, to see how things change and how audiences become more and more engaged. As you get excited, it'll start to show, in the way they react and respond to you. So let those things be your guide in terms of how often you post and what you post more of or less of, as the case may be.
Okay, so Janine Charles Fari made a comment. She said, a challenge for me is taking the social media experience from film beyond a static experience. So you have the film trailer or the animation preview, and that's 2 contact points that are project specific. Are there any other things that we can do to make the content more engaging? I find social media platforms generally static when it comes to film promotion.
Okay, I think it's audience related. It's audience based, I would say, in terms of how how you make these things work for you. Now, what has been happening with Facebook in terms of videos? You may remember, like it was probably maybe last year. We're already in September, so yeah, last year we were able to post YouTube videos to Facebook, and they would play inside Facebook. Facebook no longer allows that. They stopped it sometime earlier this year, where you now have to leave Facebook to play a YouTube video. So Facebook has been revising over, and that's the thing, platforms are always changing things. They're changing sizes of images in terms of how they work and don't work and where they can fit. They change permissions, they change displays. They have changed your video requirements. I shouldn't say requirements. What it is that Facebook is trying to compete with YouTube, basically. So they want you to post longer videos. So your shorter videos, and those are the ones that are, let's say, less than 2 minutes, less than 3 minutes, Facebook gives it less exposure. It's a way of them encouraging you to post longer videos because they want to change the dynamic of the platform. And this happens more often than you think, in terms of Facebook kind of corralling us in a certain direction. So what you have to do is make it work for you. In as much as they have reduced the exposure that they give to shorter videos, what they have done is with the lives, they have given you the opportunity to schedule a video to post as a live, even if it's not really live. The reason for that is because doing that, it creates advertising opportunities for Facebook, which again, it's because, it's all about, it's a business, they want to make money, right? So creating the Facebook Live automatically bumps that post up to a certain spot in your feeds, and it helps us as the filmmakers posting. We have higher engagement because that live notifications go out for live, et cetera, so forth and so forth is posting live. So I don't know. I think does that help answer your question, Jean, a little bit?
Hopefully. The other question that's coming in is content for stories versus on your wall or your feed. And then also, do you, when it comes to posting in your stories, do you curate that content as well? I mean, usually you think that we're posting an Instagram stories like in the moment, this is what's happening. But now you have to start thinking about that also as another arm of the social media and advertising as well.
Yeah. Yes, and rightfully so. I mean, initially it came out as in the moment sort of step by step. They gave you an opportunity to actually tell a story. I remember once it was an art and architecture course in UE or something like that. Basically, we were looking at visual arts. This is like a long time ago, right? So we basically had to tell a story only using video. And it was a journey. So you basically, took the journey, and there were short little clips of the journey. I did it from San Fernando to the Pitch Lake or something like that. So with stories, it's sort of like that. Initially, it started out like that, little glimpses of a story, which is why it was called stories. Now it has changed, where they are snapshots, but they may or may not tell a story. It has also, as you mentioned, Kamille, it has also become a way to curate content. In other words, it's not your content, but you're supporting somebody else, or you are highlighting something that is of interest to you. And yes, I think that it can be half and half. At this point, the way that it's looking, yes, you can create original content specifically for your stories, which works. It's good. I think there are some people that only check stories. There are some people who refuse to check stories. So your audiences vary, and again, check your insights. Initially, stories did not give you insights. I was looking specifically at Instagram. Facebook does it when Facebook bought Instagram. So they kind of, using similar tools, right? So with Instagram and Instagram stories, initially you can see, other than the little visibility, in terms of on the screen itself, how many will have seen it. Now you can actually see what the reach is, which is different too. So you can plan better for how you use your stories now. you know.
Oh, and also, since we're talking about stories, there's also where you can add filters, stickers, all of these different things. How would that kind of help as it pertains to promoting of a project or showing the behind the scenes or post-production or any of those things?
It shows your personality, you know, it's the personality that you wanna portray, again, as a filmmaker and as you. And I am a big believer in doing you. You know, this is what I'm doing, and this is my film. And today was a good day, so yes, it's a big smiley face, or it was a boss day or whatever. So you write boss, whatever, however you want to do it. Just be you. You know, put your personality into it. You know, and represent yourself. You know, this project is your baby. You know, so you have to be proud of it, and you have to celebrate what's happening. You know, so and give props to people who help you. You know. So, yeah.
Okay, well, we have a question from Kamille-Anne Griffith, and she's basically saying it's difficult to direct viewers from your personal page to your business page. Tagging the business page on your personal page is a challenge. How can we get around that?
I think with time, it'll take time, and just be consistent in it. The thing with it is that initially, you know, when you first create a page, you send it to your friends, you send it to family members, you send it to the people that you know, right? And yeah, they support you and whatever, but even if they may or may not be particularly interested in what you're creating, and that's cool. The people that you want to reach are the people that are genuinely interested in what you're developing and what, you know, they're interested in the theme, the genre, the style, they're interested in your filmmaking style, you know. So, or they're learning something from you, you know, so the audience will come, you know, be patient and be committed and don't be overly disappointed. We're in a kind of a psychologically changing era, you know, one like you get a hit of serotonin and dopamine, you know, so we tend to want instant gratification because that's what social media likes tend to tell us we're supposed to have, you know, but it's not about that. It's about building relationships. It's about building communities, you know, so don't worry too much if, you know, you post something and nobody liked it, you keep checking and whatever. It's okay, you know, you will find your way through it, you know, and engage with people as much as you can anyway. I mean, sometimes you ask a question and nobody answers. Okay, well, you'll ask something else next time, you know, so it's okay.
Okay, so we have a next person. Her name is Joanna Thomas. She says, when promoting a film on Instagram, would it be a good idea to use more videos or behind the scenes videos?
Yes, I would say yes. I think, especially with Instagram and Facebook, and this is, and even on Twitter, I see Twitter does it as well. There's a reason why, unless you change your settings, videos automatically play in your newsfeed. It's because they are emotionally engaging right away. So yes, I would say that posting videos, again, very short. I mean, remember when Boomerang was first introduced, it's like 2 seconds of the same thing playing over and over and over. But because there's movement, we are, you know, it's evolution. We are drawn to things that move. So yes, posting videos helps in terms of engagement. I would, again, this is where the whole IGTV thing came out as well, is because it plays for 30 seconds, I think it is, on the Instagram feed, and then you have the option to go to the IGTV. And again, it's just basically because of attention, how our attention spans move and change. So, but yes, to answer your question, Joanna, yes, I think it helps to post behind the scenes videos. You don't have to do it. You don't have to do long videos, especially if it's BTS. Little snippets of things, I think people find more interesting and more, you know, giving again a little peek behind the curtain, you know, of what's happening in production. Yeah.
Okay, so we also have another question from Joanna Thomas, and what she's saying is it a good idea to host a cast interview or go live with the cast of a film online as a way to promote the film?
Yes, but you may find that the filmmakers will give you trouble, but, you know, find a way, because a lot of creatives are not comfortable in front of the camera. They are happy behind the scenes or whatever. So you might take some mama guy in, but, you know, I think it helps because as an audience member, audiences want to know, you know, they want to know a little bit. And even if you're the strong, silent, tall, boom guy that never says anything, 2 seconds of him just, was he seen? That's it. That will work. It's still him being him. So you don't need anything long and convoluted and a long explanation. And this is my day, and I'm, 6'2", and I went to school here. Just let him be himself. Catch him with a certain expression that he always has or something. And those things just help people get to know your team or your crew, I should say. So all these little things work. I think they work. If you're coming down to the point where you're looking at, you're ready for investors though, and you want to get a better idea. You want to give a better idea of who your team members are, especially key team members. These are things that you can put on your website, the professional parts, your professional representation of you. Social media is a little more casual. Now, of course, they work hand in hand, right? Social media drives traffic to your website. That's the goal of social media, really, even though things are changing and evolving. Some people they use social media but social media is evolving. Social media users are also not extremely loyal, so you find that they get bored quickly. So a website is always important to have. But yes, so you have your professional introductions of your key cast and crew, and you can use social media to share that. So you have the professional portrayals of your team, but you have the playful side to the human side, as well. And those can work on social media.
Okay, another question. Well, from me, what about boosted posts or ads? How do you think that kind of helps the film? And it's not necessarily when the film is finished, you have that, but you could also do it during the process, pre-production, production, post-production. What do you think?
I think it depends. It actually depends on a lot of things. It depends on your motivations. The reason why you would boost to something or you would promote a post, boost a post is the same thing, or create an ad is if you're trying to achieve something. So you boost a post if you're looking for a crew member, or you are looking for, it's a casting call or something like that. So that you boost those because you want to have a greater reach, right? Or you want to, have more people engage with the post. But other than that, it depends on your motivations, I would say. It depends on what your goal is, in terms of why you want to boost something. The launch date, sure. A fundraising activity, sure. Boost all of those because, again, the ultimate goal is a wider net, casting a wider net.
So we were speaking a lot about Facebook and Instagram. Twitter, to me, is like a little bit of a dark horse. I was once a Twitter person. I am not 100% a Twitter person now. So how do you get to incorporate Twitter into the whole promotion of your film?
Okay. Yeah. I didn't mention it. I had it in my notes. Sorry about that. But yes, thanks for asking, Camille. Twitter's strengths lay in a different sphere to the highly visual Instagram and the more or less visual Facebook. Facebook is evolving. They keep changing their settings and whatnot to allow it to be a more visual space. The longer videos, they now allow you to post multiple size images as opposed to, it used to be only a certain landscape size. Now it's all sorts of sizes. They're giving you just different album display options per post. So they're changing to more visual as well. Twitter tends to be conversational. It tends to be the way that it's designed for conversation. More so for conversation, I would say. So if you want to promote your film or have something to do with your film, I would actually suggest something like a tweet-a-thon, or you have your crewmates or your cast and crew on a tweet, run your Twitter page for 15 minutes or something like that, and you advertise that that's a time where anyone can ask them any kinds of questions or whatnot. So there are certain things that work well on Twitter. So I would, try to apply those kinds of tools. And a lot of these things you can find if you Google, so ideas of how to make a certain platform work for you, So, but yes, I think each platform has its strengths, and it will take a little bit of practice on your part to see what works well for you, and what works well for which platform.
Is there any, let's say, a limit at all as it pertains to how many times you can post in a day across all the platforms? I mean, of course, Twitter is definitely, as you stated, more conversational, but do you think like for each of them you should have a certain number of how much times you can post?
Okay, Twitter is
just for your sanity and scheduling, that is.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you can post, but Twitter is linear, meaning tweets are seen based on the time that they're published, right? Facebook, unless you keep, as a Facebook user, and you keep changing your setting to most recent, you're going to see posts by popularity or as deemed by Facebook to be more important because they have their reasons for having that post seen. In terms of Instagram has also changed up. You don't necessarily see the most recent posts by an account. It varies. You can see something 3 days ago, and then 2 minutes later you see something they just posted. So it varies. What I would suggest though, Instagram is fine. Twitter I think is fine. The whole thing about posting too is that unless someone has activated the receive notification setting for your page, they will not see every post that you post. That's just how it works. So, or they may see everyone. It depends on how much they engage with your page. The minute someone likes something on your page, chances are the next time you post something, they're going to see it. It's going to show up on their feed. And that's just because how engagement works. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, they are designed, they are interest driven. So if I like something on Camille's page one day, I'm going to see Camille's next few posts that she makes until I stop liking. In other words, that platform would have determined that I am no longer so interested. I've put my focus elsewhere. So they'll shift it. Every now and then they'll send a reminder and I will see Camille again, but that's just how it goes. So in terms of how much you post, because there's also the way, what also happens is the flip side of it too. If there are followers that engage with you often and you post 10 times, they're going to say, oh my God, this person is always posting. I'm always seeing their things. So find a balance. You will have those followers that will be happy to see every single thing that you post. Then you will have some followers that will say, well, I'm not really interested in the film anyway. I was just kind of being supportive. So I'm going to click see less often. So you find a balance. Users have the option to determine what they see to a point. So.
Okay. And how do you extend the life of your film on social media after its theoretical DVD digital release so that the page isn't dead?
No, it won't. I don't think it'll be dead because it is a log of the work that you've done, and if it's a great film, it'll become a classic one day, So I think once you keep posting, when I say posting, you keep engaging with your film, your films live on. Your film's page, your films live on because not everyone will watch it the year that it comes out. People will discover it later on, and that's a reason to keep posting, actually, to keep it alive and relevant. Give your page some love. It's your film.
Yeah, I have to agree with that definitely because I am someone, if I search for something on Facebook and I come across the film or the film page, and since 2017 they haven't posted, I'm like, okay, well then maybe the person isn't there, isn't around, or the page is now dead. So I totally understand where, from that perspective, for sure.
It can be an emotional experience because, as I mentioned before, evolution has made us responsive to approval. So if we feel we're not getting attention or approval, then we can feel disappointed and not want to engage with that particular page or try, but it's your baby, it's your project, so it'll always will be and it'll always have potential. So show it some love.
Okay. Anybody else out there in virtual world have any questions, comments, anything of that nature? Because we're getting close to that shutting down period. I mean, Neala, is there anything else that you think that you can definitely add as it pertains to filmmakers and maximizing social media? I mean, for me, when I'm thinking about social media, I think the biggest thing is creating the schedule. I think that's the part that people have the biggest problem with, is creating a schedule and creating the content that would be engaging.
Yeah, it can seem daunting and it can seem intimidating, with the wealth of information. And then it's if you're doing your social media for yourself and trying to do, promotions for your project yourself, it can feel overwhelming. Ask advice, contact people, ask your peers, how did they do it? There have been many Caribbean films that have been pretty successful at, social media or marketing with social media, so reach out and ask advice. I think the creative community they tend to be supportive, at least in my experience, so see what works. And then it's a trial and error basis, try not to get too disappointed if there are no reactions right away, or if it's not growing as fast as you would like. Those that are following you, you're already building an audience, so y'all can build it together,
So basically what you're saying is slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's hard to be a creative person and to feel that your output isn't appreciated, but it's part of the cost, as a creative, I think.
Okay, so another thing is, say I have no skill whatsoever in handling social media. Do you think it makes sense in order for you to bring in somebody, even if it's like a friend that, listen, I know you have these skills, I might not be able to pay you now, but please help me out?
Yeah, always pay people, I think. Unless, you all have some sort of in-kind exchange going on, But yes, yeah, I think so. I mean, in the beginning, especially, I mean, everything that I've said today, it can be done, I would say by anyone. It's just like learning something new. Most of us, I'm sure, learn to drive cars. We learn to take care of the engine, and whatnot. So you kind of, it's something new to learn. And yes, it can seem overwhelming, There are lots of guidelines online, especially like, I can put it in the comments later, so if anybody wants to check. But like, for instance, the social media image sizes, right? Video requirements, video sizes. Twitter accepts videos up to a certain size and not longer than 2 minutes and 20 seconds. So each platform has different requirements and they constantly change. It's like a gift to all social media planners, right? All the dimensions change all the time. Rules change all the time. But there are there are websites that offer up-to-date spreadsheets that you can go and you can get all these dimensions all the time. So there are lots of resources online that help you. They show you how to upload a video, how to edit a video, how to create certain, social media images for, say, the cover photo for your page has to factor into account for your profile photo and different things, So a lot of that information is online. A lot of it is either in YouTube videos, giving you a step-by-step visual direction, or they're in articles, So just spend a little time and look around and see, how to do things that in a way that they can be effective for you.
We have a question from, I am so sorry if I butcher your name, Wendy Ferreira-Acqui. I'm hoping I got it correct. The question is, so what would be a realistic schedule of posting about a project that has ended?
It comes down to your goal. What's your outcome? Anything that you do should start with understanding what your outcome is. What do you hope to achieve? So if the project has ended, has it officially ended? Or, and in other words, is that going to be archived, or is there life for the creative content? Will it, are there possibilities for posters? Are there possibilities for memorabilia, merchandising, Are there opportunities for classes, perhaps even, later on? So it depends on what your goal is. If you never want to see the film again, it was terrible, you had a bad experience, you never want to have anything to do with it again. Although there are always learning opportunities in every experience. So you never know, it will become a source of inspiration one day. Just determine what your goals are. What do you want to do with it? If it is that you want to market something else, then the page will still be of value to you. Hope that helps, Wendy.
Hopefully that helps. Oh, and she has another question. She says, What are some fun ideas for increasing engagement?
It depends on your demographic. Be very respectful of your demographic. If you want to do something fun and engaging, it depends on your demographic. I think there are many cliched things. There are many go-to ideas. I think work with let your films, what your story is about, determine what's happening. If it's a film about an author with writer's block or something, have a pair up with a real author and organize some sort of exchange or some sort of marketing opportunity, partner with them or something like that. So I think it depends on what your page is about, what your project is about, what your film is about. But get creative. I think partnering with fellow creatives. It doesn't necessarily have to be another filmmaker. It could be within the creative industry. Music is one, so if they also have a healthy social media following, then partner with them and offer a little something, or, you all work together with something on a project. What else can you do? Giveaways are always nice, but they tend to, it depends on how it's done, and, a lot of things can be cheesy. Here what? This is what I'd recommend. You're a social media user already, so look at it from an audience perspective or a social media user perspective. We all follow pages on Facebook. There are things that you would have come across and you would be like, oh my God, that's so corny. And then there's some things you would have come across and you think that's totally brilliant. So let that be your guide, because you will know what works for you. If you try to force yourself to do something somebody else has done that you're not really buying, it's going to show, so just kind of work with your instincts a little bit and, see what you can come up with.
You think polls are like a good idea for increasing engagement?
Polls are good. It again depends on what you want to do. What you want to find out. Should I kill off this character? I don't know. Who do you think? Who's going to take? Who's going to conquer the galactic empire? I don't know. See what story using your story, your film's story or plot is a nice way to engage with people, because we all watch TV series, we all watch films, we all discuss the characters and what would happen, and if your film is speculative fiction, we discuss the world building, so throw out little teasers and see little ways to engage with people. Hopefully they don't come after you for copyright later on. It's the story idea they've given you, but have some fun with it.
Okay. Oh, someone said social media can be very overwhelming. What are your thoughts on that?
Agreed. I agree. Sorry. I agree 100%. It can be very overwhelming. Find a balance, unplug when you need to. If you're talking about social media, posting and planning can be overwhelming, yes. If you're talking about being a social media user, can be overwhelming, yes. If you're looking at it from posting, plan ahead, give yourself some freedom to be spontaneous when the time arises. For instance, you wanna keep your audience engaged. So you say you're going to post every Monday at 9 a.m. in the morning. That's another thing too is, if you can, be consistent with certain types of posts so that your followers get accustomed to looking out for you or looking out for your posts on a certain day, especially if you find a time slot that works. Trinidad, here, I found that people tend to engage more during the week. They tend to engage more just while they're waking up and before they start making breakfast and getting the kids ready for school and that kind of thing. So you will find your demographic and you will notice what hours are working for you. So plan those posts if you can. Schedule those on the Sunday, so that they post during the week. And you leave room for spontaneity. Something cool happens, you get great news, your film has been accepted somewhere, or, this actor has come on board, or whatever it is, you leave room for spontaneity, if you like. And that way it kind of mixes it up a little bit, but plan ahead. Planning always takes the pressure off, Planning always takes the pressure off.
Do you think that you need to have the same marketing skills in order to do social media for your film? Would that be helpful?
All right. Let me put it to you this way. Have you ever encouraged a friend to see a film? Have you ever sold a film? Right. So you can do it. The thing that feels difficult is because we're selling something that we've created, or we're trying to sell something that we've created. So we feel funny about it. But don't separate it from yourself if you can. You are promoting your film. You're not really promoting yourself. Take the psychology, take the psychological part out of it. You want to do right by your film. You think it's a good film. You have a good story. You're trying to create something amazing. You believe in what you're creating, and you're supporting it. We have all sold that film. You have to go see this movie. You have to buy this book. You have to read this. You have to, you have to go to this restaurant. We've all sold something, so we can all sell. Once you believe in something, you sell it. And you're making a film, so you believe in your film. So just take you out of it a little bit. Take the you out of the equation and see if that helps. And don't worry about getting bland, and don't worry about not being liked and those kinds of things. People will love you. People will love your project. Don't worry. You're creating something, and that in itself is amazing.
So what is one more thing we can do right now to improve our social media?
Well, I don't know what you're doing. I can't give advice if I don't know what you're doing.
Okay, sorry. Let me give you a scenario.
Okay.
Right? You are a student and you have a final project, and part of doing the final project is obviously creating marketing for your film. In doing it, you are trying to curate your content. You already have up a few things like the poster, the flyer, some behind the scenes of the production. What do you think else that they can do in order to build the audience, even though it's just a student film today?
Yeah. Do we have there? I don't think there's anything like just a student film, by the way. I think anything you put out there, you might think it's just my school project, but no, anything you create, that's something to celebrate. Anyway, without sounding too philosophical about it, I think what you can do when you've posted all the stuff and you want to build an audience, if you can have audience reactions to what you're doing, that might help get others on board. There's always, and it might be a Caribbean thing, it might be just a Trini thing, but if something new comes out, we wait a little bit. There are always those people who want to try it first. But most people are measured in how they react to something new. They kind of watch and wait to see how everybody kind of reacted. So if you can, and you haven't had any live reactions, and when I say live, it could be a comment, it could be a review of the film, it could be somebody who catered for your production team, even if it's just KFC, it don't matter. Anybody who has had some sort of interaction with you and your film and the production of your film, let them, see if they'd be willing to talk about the experience a little bit. And it's just short, just a very short snippets of a conversation, or you have someone react to your film, right? And it's already put out and it's already completed and it's been screened. Have them react to it, and a genuine reaction will encourage other people. So I think that's one thing that you can do as a student filmmaker. How's that?
Okay, it's really helpful. So since we have no more comments, no questions, questions.
We have 5 minutes?
We have 5 minutes?
Is it? It's 1:30.
Well, I mean, if you and I want to have a conversation, Neala, we can.
No, I'm just saying, I thought you were saying that, I didn't know what you were saying.
No, so I was just basically saying, since there weren't any more questions or comments from our virtual audience.
That's fine,
Yeah, we can wrap up. I'm just going to say, Neala, you have given a lot of insight, definite necessary insight into dealing with social media. And you realize that social media is something that you have to keep on, like when you have a doctor who has to keep on studying or a lawyer that is studying, social media is kind of the same way, since all the dimensions keep changing, different things are happening with each of the different platforms because they're competing with each other. So I think you've given a lot of insight to filmmakers, and even if you're not a filmmaker, to persons in general for social media. So thank you so much. I know you have to get back to monitoring all of the TTFF socials, answering questions, outing fires, that kind of thing. So you have to look out, people, for our next Facebook Live, which is tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. 9:30 a.m. and it's getting ready for distribution. You can also watch all of the films in the festival on online.ttfilmfestival.com and engage with our filmmakers on Zoom with the Q&A. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Thanks, Neala. Thanks to our technical director, coordinator in the background, Soraya.
Okay, thanks for joining, everyone.